Hello everybody, it is Al Knight and it is Brony time, and welcome back to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy. When we last left off, we continued our investigation. We learned a little bit about the history of Tracy's father and the Grand Marie Troop. We also, went to Clavier's office, and we got quite a bit of new information, including this, concerning, replica of something that the Interpol agent Latouche was after. So that's curious. And we then, of course, Lemoire was attacked. We found her near death, but luckily we found her enough time to have her get proper treatment. And she kind of gave us a clue that all she knew is that it had to have been taller than her. They had to have been taller than her, and also she gave us information on this replica, which is a Borginian cocoon. So we're going to ask her a little more about what exactly this Borginian cocoon is.
Well, they call it Borginian. It must only be found in Borginia. For certain, all in Borginia know of these.
It's a cocoon, so do you get silk from it?
I do not know the details, I am sorry to say.
Thought she said all in Borginia knew of these.
There is one fact I do know about the cocoon though. Something all in Borginia know.
What's that?
The cocoons, they are not to be taken out of the country. If someone does and is caught, they will be put to death.
To death? Why?
I do not know. Yet, if Interpol was involved, I'm sure there is a good reason.
But this is just a piece of plastic. He was carrying a replica, but looking for the real deal? That's my best guess. So that's what he was up to? Tracking down Borgini and cocoon smuggling?
Smuggling? It seems I was marked.
Marked?
Life changed for me with the popularity of my songs. I began to travel around the world.
Ah, so you could have brought those Borgini cocoons with you.
On my trips, yes, that was probably the suspicion.
Mr. Latouche was placed as an undercover agent to look into it.
Borginia is a small sheltered country. Not many of our people venture into the world outside.
Is that why they suspected you? But Mr. Latouche wasn't a Borginian, was he? He was an Interpol agent, which means... What, Apollo? There must be some reason why Borginia doesn't want these cocoons getting out. Something scary enough to get Interpol involved.
Huh? Like what? How could such a tiny ball of thread cause such a commotion?
Cocoon smuggling, and Mr. Latouche had them more marked.
It couldn't be her.
Huh? There's one other person I need to talk to. Thank you for talking to us, Lemoire.
It was the least I could do.
Actually, I have another request.
If it is within my power.
I need an interpreter, someone who speaks Borginian.
Apollo?
Would you come with us, if you're well enough?
I see. Yes, of course. I shall accompany you.
Huh? Where are we going? Come on, Trucy, we're about to get to the bottom of this. Was Machi involved in the smuggling? Machi, we came to talk to you about the case.
Machi?
Could you interpret for us somewhere?
Yes.
Machi, I'd like to talk to you about when we first met. When we still thought you were blind. Now we know the truth. You can see, right?
I was completely fooled myself.
Machi, isn't there another secret you're hiding from us?
Wait, Mr. Attorney, what do you mean by secret?
What do I mean by secret? Well... No, did he take a cocoon? Is that what happened? If I'm not mistaken, you know something about this, don't you?
Hey, you got a reaction! A big one! Machi, you didn't! Truce and I are trained to see people's uncertainty. Not that we would have needed any training to see that one. Well, he is a child, so his ability to, you know, he doesn't have that kind of poker face yet. Mr. Attorney, please tell me what this is all about. Lamoire, please interpret. Very well. I know you know something about this by your reaction. If you won't tell me, I might have to give it to the prosecution and have them look into it. He asked you to wait. Do not be so hasty. Machi? Do you know everything? Yes, everything. Well, sort of. Have him tell us about it. Very well. What is this cocoon anyway? The cocoon, the silk, is a potent cure. A cure? Must cure some disease. It's a cure for incuritus. A cure for incuritus? That sounds made up as hell. Great naming job, guys. Great job. But it's a cure. Why keep it in Borginia like that? Just think of all the lives they could save by sharing the medicine. I do not understand the reasons myself. Okay, well, at least we know what it is. A cure. Mr. Latouche was after cocoon smugglers. Wait, was Machi? Machi, you weren't? He couldn't be a smuggler. He's so little. Well, you're only 15 and you're sort of a magician, aren't you? Well, that's true. I'm sort of a magician. She said sort of. Oh, to have a copy of that security camera tape. Well, Machi, are you a smuggler? He won't tell me. First he plays blind, now he plays dumb. I wonder, do you think he brought a cocoon here to sell it to someone? If Machi really did bring one into the country, was he planning on making a deal for its sale? I can't go home. Can't go home? I can't go home to Virginia. I do not want to go home. The penalty for taking a cocoon from Virginia is death. That's right, it's punishable by death. About the case. What about the case? He wants to tell us about Mr. Latouche's death? This meeting's over. Darian? What do you mean? Visiting hours aren't over yet. There's a call for Machi from the Borginian embassy. This meeting is over. Sorry. Just give us 5 more minutes. We can call them back for after that. Sorry, no go. Come on, piano boy, we're leaving. Darian, wait! I never liked you. Either of you. Huh? Darn it, we were so close. He was about to tell us. Hey, Apollo. He didn't want us to hear what Machi had to say. Apollo? And there can only be one reason why. Why is everyone ignoring me? Oh, sorry, this is it. I know who I'm after now. It all happens tomorrow, in court. It's freaking Darian. It had to be him or Gramarye. It had to be. But that all the more serious, yep. Well, this is it. Today's the day it all goes down. And then there was yesterday. This meeting is over. Sorry. Just give us 5 more minutes. We can call them back after that. Sorry, no go. Come on, piano boy, we're leaving. Darian, wait! I never liked you. Either of you. Huh? And I think I know why. Time to bring down a little justice. Hey! What was that? He is heard, but unseen. Who's that talking? Valiant Gramarye? I exclaimed as he walked in through the door normally. You aren't the witness today, are you, Uncle Valence? Ha 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 ha! A preposterous proposition! How could I stand upon the stand? Why, my secrets would be free for the plucking. I might even have to sign autographs. That is why I intend to remain hidden for the entire day. Oh, with vanishing magic? Indeed. I will jump upon an express train and express myself to the next town over. But before I go, a word of warning. Warning? What? A grand grammary glamour resides at the root of all that has happened. Do not forget this truth. A glamour? A spell, a sorcery, a great illusion. Miss Trucy, though it pains me to part so, I need to get in line for a ticket. Farewell. And there he goes. He sure seemed happy about that illusion thing. Oh, big illusions are the bread and butter of a magician. You can't pull off a show without one. The big illusion is always a spectacle to remember. Usually it involves cutting up things like people or elephants, or the Eiffel Tower. Anything, really. So, he was talking about what we saw at the concert. Lamboir's disappearing acts. Excuse me? Prosecutor Gavin's exploding guitar. Wonder what he meant by it being the root of all that has happened. Well, it's about time. Shall we go? Excuse me, sir. Yes? The scheduled starting time for the trial has been changed. The trial will not be commencing until 10:30 a.m. Sorry for the convenience. Huh? Did something happen? This is a first. It was by the judge's request, some urgent personal business. Great, I bet he stayed up too late last night watching courtroom dramas. Apparently he's visiting the hospital again. The hospital? I believe it was mentioned that the Chief Justice's son is unwell. Apparently his condition worsened considerably this morning. The Chief Justice's son. Oh, that's right. Remember yesterday morning, the judge said he had to go visit him after the trial. No! Of course! This is why it ties into the overarching... Okay, I think I know what the fourth case is gonna be. His son has incuratus. The Virginian is a cure for incuratus. Someone was smuggling it into the country, and it may have been... Was it... It may have been Machi or Darien. I don't know who smuggled it in. But I just don't know. But now we know that incuratus is a thing. If you care to read about it yourself... Incuratus. Where have I heard that before? Oh, come on, Apollo! I'll let you read about the article for us, Apollo. Just leave the TV guide page to me. Try not to lose the page with the funnies if you can. My apologies for the delay. Court is now in session for the trial of, how do you say this name again? Machi a suspect fortissimo. Right, it's his trial in any case. The defense is prepared, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready to rock. Is something wrong, Your Honor? No, well, yes. It's just I've been friends with the Chief Justice since we were students. Pains me to see him going through such a difficult time. Incuratus, was it? Incuratus, oh my god. That article said there is no known cure. Judge, let me say with all honesty, I feel your pain. But now is not the time for the tears. Now is the time for law. Indeed. We left off at quite the juncture yesterday. Quite a sensational ending. Who would have thought Darien would guest star in the season cliffhanger as a suspect? I asked the prosecution to look into this matter. Please tell the court your findings. Darien Crescent is a member of my band, the Gaviniers. He is also a detective, making the current charges serious indeed. Yet after the investigation, I have found no cause to alter our case or file new charges. And your reason is? Weren't you aware, Forehead? He has an impeccable alibi. An alibi? Let us review the facts again, shall we? The concert held on the night of the shooting was in 3 sets. The Gaviniers ripped up the stage during the first set. For the second set, our guests took center stage. The only performers appearing were myself, Lamoire, and Machi, along with a drummer and a bassist for a total of 5. The shooting in the dressing room took place during the third set. Lamoire and the defendant, Machi Tobaye, had left the stage at that point, and the Gaviniers were already rocking. This is when 2 shots rang out at the scene of the crime. Shots heard by Detective Emma Skye, mind you. And Apollo, you heard them too, right? I sure did. Furthermore, Lamoire herself witnessed the moment of the crime. Well, perhaps I should say she heard the moment of the crime. Then she claims to have heard Mr. Latouche and Detective Crescent talking. But that's impossible. Detective Crescent was. Precisely. Detective Crescent was on stage, getting his groove on, no less. Voila. A perfect alibi. Does the defense have anything to add to this? It's true, when I heard those gunshots, he must have been on stage. Still, there's something here that doesn't quite add up. It appears the defense has no objections. I believe we can safely say that Darien Crescent's alibi has been acknowledged. Which means that Lamoire was sadly mistaken. Her testimony cannot be true. Very well, of course, if we disregard her testimony. And I see no evidence keeping us from declaring a verdict. If indeed there are no objections... Uh-oh, Paula, if he declares a verdict now... but Prosecutor Gavin's case is airtight. Lamoire might have been trying to protect Machi. How can I rely on her testimony? Wait, what about yesterday in the detention center? Machi was trying to tell us something, I know it. Maybe the best thing to do is ask him, under oath. Very well, the court finds the defendant, what was his name again? Your Honor. No, that wasn't it. It was something like Machi or Mr. Justice. Your Honor, before you declare a verdict, I would like to call another witness. Exactly who else do you need to hear from? A witness who until now has not been given a chance to speak in this court. Because he doesn't speak English. You don't mean... I do. The defense calls defendant Machi Tobaye to the stand. What? But he doesn't speak English. We'll use an interpreter. Interpreter, I'm afraid you'll have to look elsewhere. I only speak a few phrases such as I love you and where is the toilet. The defense would like to request Lamoire as the interpreter. Lamoire? But there's a possibility she's protecting the defendant. But she'd be interpreting for the defendant. Why would she lie? This is most unusual. Bravo, Air Forehead. Air Judge, the prosecution agrees with the defense's request. If Lamoire lies, I'll be able to tell. Even my limited knowledge of this language should be enough for that. Well, if both prosecution and defense are for this, I see little cause for refusal. Finally, some progress. Bailiff, please show the defendant and Lamoire to the stand. I suppose there is a time for everything. Shall we proceed? Your name to begin with, if you would, Lamoire. Yes. He says Machi Tobaye, the defendant. This is certainly a first for this courtroom. Not that we really need an interpretation of that message in particular. So far, so good. Very well, Mr. Justice, if you would. If I would what, Your Honor? What? You called the defendant to the stand, did you not? What would you have him testify about? What I want him to testify about? I hadn't thought of that far yet. Apollo, aren't you going to ask him what he was about to tell us yesterday? How can I if I don't know what he was saying? Excuse me, a moment, if I might speak. Yes, Lamar? Just now, Machi said there is something about which he wishes to testify. Machi wants to testify about something? What could it be? What sort of testimony is he talking about? One moment, please. Ah, the suspense is killing me. What? 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 Well, Amoir, according to Machi, he has proof of his innocence. What? This is a surprise. Yahoo! Victory, Apollo, we did it! This is sounding too good to believe, and I know what that usually means. Well, if that's true, then this is vital testimony. Machi, please testify to the court. Very well. He says that what Mr. Tu's death came as a great shock, but if the killing duty followed the lyrics of my song, I, that is he, could not have done it. He says that because the lyrics are in English, he does not understand them. I see. He wouldn't have understood the English lyrics to the song. That would prevent him from following them so closely. I wonder what he meant by proof. Why, he would only have to ask Lamoire to know the meaning of that song. Lamoire, did you ever explain the lyrics of that song to him? I did tell him generally what the song was about, but never in so much detail, and he never asked. Has my oft-repeated warning already fled that forehead? Lamoire might be protecting the witness. Well, anyway, let us proceed with the cross-examination. Mr. Justice, if you would. Yes, Your Honor. Something's hidden in that testimony. I know it. I'll just have to trust my bracelet to tell me where. It worked yesterday. It'll work today. I think I want to try the bracelet. Yeah, because I thought there was something mentioned that he might actually know English too, and that the whole not knowing English thing was all a lie. So I think we should check this out.
Gotcha!
The typical side look, eyes looking away, not keeping eye contact. Machi, you can't fool my eyes. You glanced toward her the very moment Lamoire said the word English. Why? And don't bother interpreting that. He understands me. Machi, tell the truth. You can understand English, can't you? But what are you saying? Of course he can. Must he continue this charade? Mr. Justice, Machi says this. I know the word English. Huh? Before coming to this country, he heard me speaking English. He learned the name for this language, that is all. What? Give me a break. Is that such an unusual word to understand? Do you not know Espanol, for instance? Well, yeah, but I am sorry, but he truly does not understand your language. Well, then explain this. How does he know the crime followed the lyrics? Have you always been such a suspicious-minded lad? It is simple, so simple it hardly requires an explanation. He read about it in the newspaper. The newspaper? The Bourguignon Daily Bugle. You can buy it in this country these days, you know. They have already begun to report about this case in our homeland. I was right. What is wrong, Mr. Justice? Your eyes, they're quite fierce all of a sudden. Machi is lying. Maybe it's time to show the proof that he's lying. Let's read this newspaper that he claims to have read. Z strikes close to home. Article about the chief's son who is afflicted with incuratus. But that has nothing to do with the lyrics, though.
This evidence proves that you're lying. Perhaps my interpretation was at fault. Machi says, try again, adhesive. No, sorry. Try again, sucker? I must have gotten it wrong. What? One more time. So he claims he read about it in the newspaper. That means he's lying. Maybe it's time to prove... What else could it have been then if it's not the newspaper? Oh! I'm stupid. I'm really dumb. That was stupid of me. I clicked the wrong fucking newspaper. I'm so... oh god, that was stupid of me. That was the English newspaper. I have a Virginian newspaper, the Virginian Daily Bugle, as a matter of fact. Indeed, there is a feature article about the case. Could you read this for me, Machi? That's right. It doesn't mention the lyrics. What? What is this all about? I'm sorry, Machi. You couldn't have read about the lyrics in a Borginian newspaper. What does this mean? But I don't see how it's possible. I know. He must have heard the lyrics when the police were doing their questioning, yes? Not possible. Not possible. The subject of the lyrics was not brought up in the police questioning. I read the full report myself. So the lyrics weren't in the newspaper and the police didn't mention them. The only place you could have heard them was in this courtroom. In English, no less. The witness will explain herself himself. Machi says, yes. It is true I read the newspaper, but this is not where I learned of the lyrics. I was mistaken. Now I remember. You remember? He says he heard of the lyrics from me. What? Is this true, Lamoire? Yes, I'm afraid I had forgotten it myself. Then it looks like Airforehead's been jumping to conclusions again. It seems so, yes. Oh no, I was onto something, I know it. I can't let this chance slip away. Time is an issue today, Mr. Justice. Are you finished with the cross-examination? What are you going to do, Apollo? I'm going to keep on examining. Cross-examining. I better have an angle of attack, or else. My bracelet's still reacting. Your Honor, please allow me to continue. If you must, you must. Very well, witness. I understand. I'm a little suspicious of Lemoire. I missed my chance. We have to replay it again. Gotcha! Lemoire, I'm currently cross-examining Machi. Why should you be uncertain? Me? Uncertain? Yes, you swallowed the very moment you told the court. It was I who explained. I see there's little point in trying to hide anything from you. Lemoire, are you indeed protecting someone? That is not a question with a simple answer. To tell the truth, I do not believe it myself. Then allow me to answer for you. Lemoire, you're protecting... Obviously, it's Machi. Lemoire, you are protecting Machi. That's why you lied and told us that you had explained how the crime followed the song. I don't fault you for trying to help, but this is not the way. Machi, I believe you didn't do it. Really, I trust you. But you've lied to us twice. And now you have Lemoire lying on your behalf. If this is going to work, you have to trust me too. Your two lies cover a simple truth. You understand English. You have to. Ah! Ah! Witness, is this true? Do you understand English? Yes, a little only. What? First he could see, now he can talk. And you did not know about this Lamois? No, I did not. It is quite a surprise. How many secrets is this witness hiding? This is last. Machi, could you tell us what really happened? No shooting. I did no shooting. So you weren't in the dressing room when I heard those 2 gunshots, correct? Apparently, to answer to that question isn't simple either. I was in dressing room, behind desk, manager, he on floor. Which would be after the shooting, right? Then there is voice. Voice? Or voices? Was it you and Emma, Apollo? So when Machi went into the dressing room, Mr. Latouche had already been shot. And then we came to the door. Panel high up! I take off! Run away! Run away! So it was you who escaped through that air vent. As the prosecution has upheld all along, no less. The defendant has admitted to being at the scene. Might we take this as a confession? No, he clearly denied that he did it. I know shooting. Manager on floor. Already on floor. The victim had already been shot, you say. I find that hard to believe. The defendant understood the song lyrics. He was at the scene of the crime. This can only mean one thing. He is the shooter. Does the defendant have anything to say to this? He's clammed up, Apollo. Now let's ask Mr. Justice. Will you require further testimony from the witness? Is that it? Is there nothing else I can get him to testify about? Wait, no, of course. What is this cocoon anyway? The cocoon, the silk, is a potent cure. A cocoon has to have something to do with this. Machi, please, tell us the truth for your own sake. No more speak, not to any of you. So much for your precious trust, Air Forehead. Hey, you were the one who didn't believe him. Regardless, this brings us to an impasse. It does seem that the defense and the defendant are at odds. I doubt we are likely to learn anything more of value should this continue. I see no other course but to declare a 5-minute recess. The defense will work things out with the defendant so that we might proceed. Apollo Eustace. That's justice. Better learn how to say it if you ever want to get some. Believe I no shooting. Machi claims Mr. Latouche was already down on the ground when he entered the room. Maybe it was a trap and he walked right into it? Suddenly, I hear a revolver. Close, very close. Then I hear a voice. You heard gunshots? Yes, it's true. I hear a revolver, but only sound. Wait, are you saying you went into the dressing room and found Mr. Latouche already dead, and then you heard shots? If that's true. So, you were at the scene of the crime when you heard those shots. Did you escape through the air vent? I know. Huh? What do you know? I know if I opening vents, I can leave stage and backstage. So the vents went to both the stage and the backstage area. Is that what he means? Hey, he's right. Look, Apollo. Huh? Yeah. But how did you know it was connected like that? Wait, I bet his father was the architect that designed the hall or something. I hear this. From magician. Magician? Don't look at me. Magician, huh? Well, at least we're clear on one thing. Machi didn't shoot Mr. Latouche. Yeah, but what does that leave us with? We're supposed to say he went to the room to find the body, and then he heard the shots? That one's going to go over well in court, not. Apollo, you're his defense. You're supposed to believe whatever he says, even lies. That's what Daddy always told me. I'll just pretend you misheard him. Every time. So, what do we do? You're sure you won't testify, Machi? No talking, no. Well, it was worth a shot. That cocoon. Of course, he's scared. Oh well, I guess we'll just have to try a different approach. That's the spirit, Apollo, so what's your plan? Machi won't testify about it, we'll have to get someone else to testify. Someone else? I think we're out of time. Let's get back in there. Right. Oh my gosh. Allergies, people. Court is now back in session. Mr. Justice, have you sorted out things with the defendant? Yes, Your Honor. We had a good talk. Very well. So will he testify? Your Honor, the defendant will not testify. What? Shame, and I thought this was your big chance to turn this case around. Actually, it is. The defense would like to approach this case from a different angle, Your Honor. A different angle? If Machi won't testify, then I know who will. I would like to cross-examine the witness in this case, Lamoire. Lamoire? What are you up to now? I thought we determined yesterday that Lamoire's testimony was insubstantial. There's nothing you can... Lamoire was taken to the hospital yesterday with injuries. What happened? She was assaulted, Your Honor. Assaulted? Someone wanted Lamoire dead. Thankfully, she was able to save herself. What? I've heard no such reports. Prosecutor Gavin. Why would anyone be out to kill Lamoire? Can you think of a reason? Well, think of how she is known in our country. A singer from overseas who doesn't speak English, yes? Yet someone tried to keep her mouth shut. Who could that have been? You don't think... I do. It was the same person who shot Mr. Latouche. The killer was afraid of her, afraid of what she might say. The defense believes that something was hidden in her testimony yesterday. Something that the killer doesn't want getting out. So, am I to understand that this is what you are saying? Namely, that there is a nugget of truth in Lamoire's testimony. A nugget we have yet to uncover? Exactly. Lamoire was attacked. This has serious implications. Very well. There were some vague points in her testimony during yesterday's trial. Perhaps we did not inquire as deeply as we might have into some. The court will hear Lamoire's testimony once more. Lamoire, I must apologize. We must ask you to stand again and speak. You need not apologize. I know that Machi is innocent. I will do all that I can until the court realizes this. Let's review your testimony from yesterday. You told us you heard 2 gunshots and the shooter's voice through the window, and that the voice belonged to Darien Crescent, yes? That is correct. At which point I proved she could not be correct. She couldn't have heard any of those things. The small window at the seam was closed and was found to be quite soundproof. You have nothing to say to that, Mr. Justice? I don't know exactly what yet, but I do know there's something there. There is. It seems much you do not know. And yet it is my duty to hear him out. Perhaps the witness would be so kind as to testify once more to the court. Of course. Of course, Your Honor. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. That's when I heard them, Mr. Latouche and the detective. I heard the faint sound of a gunshot and stopped. Then I heard another gunshot. There's the smell of gunpowder. I knew I must tell someone, but I was in a hurry, so I kept moving past the small window.
Pretty much the same as yesterday's testimony.
I am sorry. I am not used to speaking much in this language. Perhaps my descriptions are lacking in some way? Yet everything I have said here is the truth.
Then it is my distinct displeasure to say this. What you have said to have happened is impossible. Do I have to repeat myself? Lamar was attacked because of this testimony.
What? Trucy? Apollo, for a moment there, you were pretty cool.
Maybe I do better when I don't try to think ahead. Very well, Mr. Justice. Perhaps you can coolly cross-examine the witness. Tell us more about that.
Darian Crescent. I did not know his name at the time, but yes, it was him, the one who took the stand yesterday.
How many times do I need to remind you that's impossible? There is no way you could have heard him.
Because the window at the scene was closed. Is that why?
Of course.
Apollo, if we keep asking the same questions as yesterday, we won't get anywhere. She's right. Maybe there's a different angle I could try.
What were they talking about?
Lamar, do you by any chance remember what they were saying to each other? If so, please tell us. I have given it much reflection, but I was afraid of this. She doesn't remember. I only heard one phrase clearly.
A whole phrase? You remember something that was said?
Why didn't you say anything yesterday? Though my memory is clear, I was afraid to speak. You see, I do not understand what was said. This could be it. The clue I've been waiting for.
Well, what did he say?
It was the other man speaking, not Mr. Latouche, the shooter then. Darian Crescent.
Well, what did he say?
It's over. Press the switch. Now.
Switch? And the shooter said this to the victim, Mr. Latouche?
I thought it quite strange myself afterward.
It is a mystery. What could it possibly mean? Mr. Justice, care to shed some light on this?
Sure, I'd be delighted. It's very, very vital. Maybe we could add that to the testimony. Maybe, Apollo?
Well, we do have a switch with us. This one's pretty obvious.
Objection! Press the switch. There's only one key that can unlock the mystery of those words.
Oh?
Yet there was nothing at the scene that could be called a switch saves the lights. True, there wasn't a switch at the scene, but it just so happens I have a switch right here.
That certainly does look like a switch, doesn't it?
The problem is, this was found not at the scene of the crime, but on the stage.
The stage?
Where the concert was held, yes. This was found hidden there. On the stage.
Are you claiming that the voice Lamar heard was of someone commanding another to press this switch?
It's a possibility.
Objection!
Oh, Air Forehead, I call that an impossibility. Why? It's hardly necessary for me to remind the court of the layout of the concert forum. The stage is quite far from Lamar's dressing room. Not to mention that the governors were in the middle of a concert on that stage. We aren't known for being a quiet band. You could shout all you wanted and not be heard. The detective's voice was loud, but certainly not a shout. So to have Airfoid's cries of possibility fallen far short of being heard.
Sorry, but he wouldn't have needed to shout.
Excuse me?
You heard what I said, or do you need me to shout it out for you?
It would have been quite simple to be heard on the stage from that dressing room. Oh wait, you like evidence, don't you? How about this? Using this would be easy to get a message to someone on stage from the dressing room. This headset that we know has a 30-foot range. Prosecutor Gap, perhaps you're familiar with this.
Why, that's... What is it? Is that some kind of newfangled phone they invented while I wasn't looking?
This is the type of transmitter, a communications device. Communications device? From what I've heard that night, everyone on stage was wearing one of these. Is that right, Prosecutor Gavin? Ah, yes, actually. Therefore talking between band members. We all had one on. So you admit that if you were wearing one of these, talking from the backstage to the stage would be simple. True, but wait. So send out an electronic signal. To avoid interference with the audio systems, the range is quite limited. Amar said it was about 30 feet, right? Look at this cross-section diagram of the concert forum. Ah, exactly. The walk from the stage to the backstage seems far, but the direct distance is less than 30 feet. That can't be! So when Lamar heard the shooter's voice, he could have been talking to someone on stage? Objection! Ah, you're claiming this is the switch in question. Why did it have to be on the stage at the time? It could be placed in a pocket and carried anywhere. Someone could have hid it on the stage after the fact. Hey, he's got a point. How do we know where it is when she heard the voice? When the shooter said press the switch. Well, I guess we don't. An unfortunate situation. I'm afraid that until we know where the switch was, there's little point in debating it. I'm sure this was the way to go with this. What is this switch, anyway? We don't even know that basic fact. Wait a second. I do know what the switch is. If you follow that train of logic to its incredible conclusion, it ends up in proof that completely changed this case. What's up, Apollo? We know about this switch, right? We know what it is. Yeah? Well, think of when it was used that day. Think of what happened. Well, Mr. Justice? To have no further information to share concerning this switch. Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Justice? I've been remiss in not telling the court this before. I know what this switch is. Well, it seems the defense is set upon linking this switch to the case. Let's see your evidence of the link. What evidence do you have to explain that the switch is? Naturally, it's the igniter, because we used it yesterday, and Emma got hurt. Prosecutor Gavin, you remember this? Ah, that what? Is it another one of those newfangled phones? This is an igniter. What phone looks like this? Igniter? You mean it's like a lighter? Yes, actually, I'm saying this switch is a remote. I am. This is a remote trigger for an igniter. What? Look, I'll show you. Yo, Mr. Justice, you will cease and desist from burning down this courtroom. Sorry, that was a bit more fire than I'd expected. My whiskers had caught on fire. Prosecutor Gavin, let me repeat myself. This switch is a remote ignite trigger. Doesn't that suggest something to you? You're talking about what's happened to me, aren't you? Ah! Exactly. That night at the concert, there was one unusual burst of flame. When your guitar caught fire in the middle of your performance. Wasn't that part of the stage show, though? Prosecutor Gavin was entirely unaware such a thing had been planned. The guitar that burned was a valuable keepsake. That's right, he got it in Virginia from Lamar. He said the sound was amazing before it burned, of course. Now it just kind of smokes. The better the guitar, the brighter it burns. And a forehead. Yes? Don't tell me you're trying to tie these two things together. Those being the shooter's voice heard by Lamoire. And the guitar suddenly catching on fire. I am. It's really simple when you think about it. Mr. Toots and the shooter were in the crime scene. The shooter was wearing a headset. He ordered someone on stage to press the switch. The switch was pressed and the guitar caught fire. Well, that does seem to make sense. There's something about it is bugging me. Can't quite put my finger on it. Really? It seems pretty simple to me. And forehead, don't destroy what little respect I have for you. I was expecting something a little more sensible. I guess I was wrong. What's this all about, Prosecutor Gavin? His simple story simply makes no sense. Think, that night my guitar caught fire, yes. The cause may have been this indeed. However, the guitar caught fire during the second set. Oh, that's right, of course. The guitar caught fire during Lamps War's song. Indeed, yet the shooting happened during the third set. The two are utterly unrelated. Yes, that must have been what was bugging me. The whole premise for this is faulty. See, his story makes no sense. Are you sure about that? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Maybe it's not the premise for my explanation of the switch that's at fault. Maybe it's our premise for the entire case so far. What premise is this specifically? I'm glad you asked. I'm saying that maybe the killing didn't take place in the third act. What's this? But Detective Emma Sky heard shots and found the body. All of this happened in the third act. Gunshots rang out, and according to his testimony, Machi was in that dressing room at the time. Where are you going with this, Mr. Justice? Stay with me, Your Honor. He also told us this in his testimony, namely that the victim had already been shot. We all heard gunshots, but no one saw the shooting. This is insane. Just before the shooting took place, the shooter was heard on his headset, telling someone to press the switch. The next moment, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. We know that a remote-triggered igniter was inside the guitar. From all these facts, we can draw only one conclusion. The crime did not take place during the third act, but during the ballad performance, the second act. What? Order, order, order! But that goes against the evidence. What does, Your Honor? This crime was carried out according to the lyrics of that song, yes? Hey, he's right. Look. The bullet is supposed to come after the fire. You're thinking about it the wrong way, huh? Look, why would the shooter craft the events of the day to follow the lyrics anyway? It's an awful lot of trouble to go through, with little merit for the person doing it. But I'm sure whoever it was had some reason. Yes, they did. A reason that made it advantageous to follow the lyrics. You're saying the order was reversed on purpose. Reversed? Prosecutor Gavin? If the criminal followed the lyrics strictly, then yes. The shooting would have had to come after the guitar burst into flame. Yet Air Forehead has raised another possibility. He's claiming that the bullet came not after, but just before the fire. Couldn't have put it better myself. We were only meant to think that the shooting came after the guitar burst into flame. That was the criminal's objective. The crime followed the lyrics to a point, but that was the ruse. Why else would the killer risk discovery by moving the body? That was the final touch to make us think he'd followed the lyrics the whole way. Order, order, order! That would explain this most unusual situation. It does. The killer changed the order of events to create himself an alibi. In other words, the killer was someone who had an alibi for the third set, but not the second. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but sadly it has. Let me tell you why your little fairy tale makes no sense at all. Oh, it sounds good. I'll give you that. You've given us a reason why the killer bothered following the lyrics of my song. But I question your logic, for it's flawed from the very beginning. Flawed? Yes. Yes, a contradiction, Air Forehead. When I pointed out several times, no less. At the time of the crime, the small window of the scene was closed. How could Lamar have heard a voice through it? Oh, I know that you would like to divert our attention from this critical fact, but you're basing your entire line of reasoning on a false premise. Right, Lamar's testimony is my entire case. That voice she heard, the shooter's voice. But what if she couldn't hear it, Apollo? Look, what do we have? A man saying, press the switch. And near the crime scene, we have a switch. which acts as a remote trigger for an igniter. And last but not least, Prosecutor Gavin's flaming guitar. Can't all be coincidence, but how do I make it work? I see a more direct line of questioning is required. Then, the crime scene was investigated immediately after the crime. That window was closed. Can't it tell us how Lamar heard the voice? Key point, to be sure. Mr. Justice, can you explain this to the court? Okay, Justice, you've got one thing to prove and one thing only. Lamar heard a voice, and she heard it during the second set. Think, how is Lamar able to hear the voice? Well, we will get into that next time on the Great Ace Attorney. Next time on Apollo Justice. Sorry, this is gonna be every video. But yeah, we're at time definitely. So when we come back in the next episode, we are going to prove that Lamar was somewhere else, I guess, is where we're going with this. So yeah, but thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Brony Time for more content. Also, make sure to share this video far and wide so more eyes can gaze upon this series, and we can have some more fun together. I will see you next time.